Today we're going to learn adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers with Lego Man. This can be a tough topic, and Lego Man is going to make it a little bit easier. We're going to start out with this number line here. It has the numbers 1 through 5 positive, 1 through 5 negative. And we're going to do some addition problems first, then some subtraction problems, and use all kind of positive and negative numbers to see how that works. So you'll never be confused again. So the way we want to do it is that Lego Man is going to help us out. And Lego Man always looks at addition and subtraction problems this way. They have 3 parts. The first thing Lego Man likes to look at is the number that it starts with. That tells Lego Man where he wants to stand to start the problem. The second part is the sign, a plus or a minus. That tells Lego Man which way he wants to face, in the plus direction toward the positive numbers on the number line, or in the minus direction toward the negative numbers on the number line. And the third part is what you're adding or subtracting. In this case we have a 3, so we're adding 3. That tells this last number tells Lego Man how many steps he wants to take. In this case it would tell him he wanted to take 3. So to do this problem, first the 2 tells Lego Man where he wants to stand. So Lego Man's going to stand right there where the 2 is on the number line. Alright, the plus sign in the middle tells Lego Man which way he wants to face. So Lego Man wants to face this way. He wants to face the bigger and bigger numbers because he had a plus sign. And the 3 tells Lego Man how many steps he wants to take. How many times does he want to hop? 1, 2, 3. So when Lego Man hops 3 steps in the direction he was facing, he gets to the number 5. So this tells us that 2 plus 3 equals 5, which everybody pretty much knows, right? 2 plus 3 equals 5, no big surprise there. We're laying the foundation for what we're going to learn in a minute. To make it one step harder, we're going to tell Lego Man to start on a different kind of number. He's going to start on a negative number. In this problem, we have negative 2 plus 4. But if we take it with the same 3 steps every time, we'll never find a problem that's hard. So negative 2, he wants to stand over here at negative 2. That tells him what his starting position is. The plus in the middle tells Lego Man which way he wants to face. So he's going to face toward the positive numbers, the bigger numbers. Can you see his hands facing that way? And the 4 tells Lego Man how many steps he wants to jump, how many times he wants to hop. So he's going to hop 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he ends up on the number 2. He's kind of blocking it, but it's between 1 and 3. You can count on that. All right, so we're between, so negative 2 plus 4 equals 2, which makes sense for if you've been working problems like this. Negative 2 plus 4 equals 2. All right, make a little bit different problem. Now we're going to go back to starting on a positive number, but adding a negative number. So this time, the same 3 steps every time. Lego Man's going to start on the number 3, because that's the first thing that he sees. Hi, Lego Man. He's waving at you. And we're adding. It's a plus sign, so that tells Lego Man which way to face. So he's facing toward the bigger numbers, the positive numbers. Uh-oh, he's not quite on 3. That's a little better. But this time we're adding a negative number. When we add a negative number, that tells Lego Man he needs to hop backwards. So even though he's facing this way, toward the bigger numbers, he wants to hop backwards in the way that he's not facing, the opposite direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we hop back to negative 2. So 3 plus negative 5 gives us negative 2. This method is nice because you don't have to think about, is adding a negative the same as subtracting, or is you worrying about all the signs. This method takes care of all those things once you split it into 3 parts. All right. So the hardest kind of adding is when you're adding 2 negative numbers. All right, so Lego Man's already standing at negative 2. We're pretty close. He has a plus sign. So that means he needs to face in the positive direction, and he's facing in the positive direction because he's facing toward all these positive numbers on this end of the number line. and he's adding a negative 3. So he's on a negative 2, and he wants to add a negative 3. When you add a negative 3, that means he wants to jump backwards. So it means jumping in the way that he's not facing. So he's going to go back 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. And he makes it to negative 5. And so we know that negative 2 plus negative 3 equals negative 5. So we've gone through all these additions of combinations of positive and negative numbers, and we haven't come to anything that was hard, even for a Lego man. Now we'll try subtractions. Maybe the tricky ones are the subtractions. Let's see. He's going to follow those same 3 steps. Now we've got 5 minus 3. Remember the first part, the 5, tells Lego man where he wants to stand. He's at 5. Then now we've got a minus sign in here. So the minus sign tells Lego man that he wants to face in the negative direction. He wants to face over there toward negative number land where all the negative numbers live. So he started at 5, he faced in a negative direction, and he wants to go 3 steps in the way that he's facing. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3. Now when we take all 3 of these things separately, the 5, the minus, and the 3, then we don't have to worry about, is this a negative 3 or a minus 3? We use this as the minus, the direction to face, and then the 3 was just how many steps he was going to take in that minus direction. So 5 minus 3, just like you know, put him at the number 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. I bet there's a harder subtraction problem. Hang on. All right, Lego man, what if you started at negative 3? Negative 3 minus 2. This one must be harder. Well, same 3 steps. Step 1, where are you starting? You're starting at negative 3. So put Lego man at negative 3. He's got a minus sign, so he knows he needs to face in a negative direction toward the negative numbers, away from the positive numbers. So he's on negative 3. He's a little bit off. He's on negative 3. He's facing in the negative direction. He went too far to 4. He's facing in the negative direction, and he wants to go 2 steps. So we negative 3, minus for what direction for him to face, and he's going to go 2 steps. So 1, 2. So negative 3 minus 2 made him end up at negative 5. Oops, we're having trouble with where he ended up. There we go, negative 5. So it kind of makes sense. Negative 3 minus 2 makes negative 5. How about if he starts on a positive and subtracts a negative number? This is one that gives people trouble a lot of times. We're trying to remember minus a negative. Does that make a positive? Does it make a negative? Should we turn around twice? What should we do? So Lego man's going to follow the same steps that he has every other time. He's going to start at the first number. The first number is a 4, so he's going to start on a 4. The first sign that he sees is a minus, so he's going to face in a minus direction. Right? And the number that he's subtracting is negative 3. So when that number is negative, it means he wants to hop backwards. So from 4, he's going to go backwards 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. I don't have 7 on my number line, but probably from 4, if he hopped 3 steps, he would go to 5, 6, 7. So let's pretend the Lego man is at 7 right now. 4 minus negative 3, he ends up at 7. 4 minus negative 3 is 7. And the last problem, what if you had negatives on all the numbers and you were subtracting? Surely that would be the hardest possible problem. Negative 2 minus negative 6. The negative 2 tells Lego man where to start. He starts on negative 2. The minus sign tells him which way to face. Face in a negative direction toward those big negative numbers. He can't quite stand right there. He's kind of fallen off. All right, negative 2, and he's facing in a negative direction toward those big negative numbers, away from the positive numbers. And he wants to go negative 6. Now, when the second number is negative, it means he wants to hop backwards in the way that he's not facing. So he's going to hop this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he ends up here at 4. So negative 2 minus negative 6 equals 4. This is every kind of addition and subtraction of every combination of positive and negative numbers you could have. You could see that we never got to a problem that was hard. We never had to think about how the minus signs went together or which ones canceled each other out. We did every problem with the same process, and Lego Man never had one problem.